Welcome, everybody, to the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. We are your boys. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, is my partner in crime, the one and only
Sean Ducross. Tristan, we got a bang-up job going on this weekend. We just had a great interview that you guys got to check us out after the show to hear this interview with Bobby the Kid Sanchez. You're not going to want to miss that. But Tristan, big fight week. Bellator 180 and NYC went down this weekend. Was it a hit? Was it a flop? It's still out in the open. Nobody really knows which way it is, but what do you feel?
What I feel about this event is that you think about it as something that was unique in itself when Bellator, for the longest time, you didn't think that they were actually going to go that route and go back to pay-per-view. But for them to go back to pay-per-view, I've been telling everybody all over the media networks is that I honestly believe that we're looking at easily over 250,000 buys for the pay-per-view. And that's a huge success coming from where they came from in their first one. When you're looking at King Mo and Rampage that headlined the first ever pay-per-view, and they only drew 100 buys. So I liked it. I like this card. I like the build-up. I like how they did it. It reminds me of the old era of Strikeforce. Everything they did it kind of made me feel okay. They're starting to move in that direction. They've completely separated themselves from the old Bellator.
They separated themselves from the old Bellator back when they got rid of the competition, the tournament style. They were long gone past that. But the thing, though, is that you talked about it, is that the last pay-per-view was Rampage versus King Mo that only drew 100,000 buys. But here's something interesting, is that Scott Coker says that if anything in the mid-200,000s is considered respectable, anything above 300,000 is a big hit. Want to know what the first pay-per-view and the second pay-per-view had in common? Michael Chandler was on both of them. So, did people tune in to the Bellator 120 Rampage versus King Mo because of Michael Chandler? That'll be interesting to see, is that if this now improves the buy rates, is that Michael Chandler's a big draw. Or were people just simply tuning in because they got to see Fedor, they got a chance to see Wanderlei Silva, you name it, they got to see the who's who of ex-fighters that many people didn't get an opportunity to see in their good era. And I say in their good era because they're past their prime. They're well past their prime. But because it's MMA, at any given time, something can happen, and you could see the rise and the fall of fighters all over the spectrum. So it was one of those things that, as a kid, for me, I got a chance to see Wanderlei Silva and Chael Sonnen end their beef. I got a chance to see Fedor again in the U.S., but Fedor being 0-3 in the U.S. is just like, the dude doesn't win in the U.S. He didn't win in Strikeforce. He went 0-3 in Strikeforce, and now he's 0-1 in Bellator. He's 0-4 in his last 4 fights, despite being on a 5-fight win streak since his retirement. But when he comes to the U.S., the guy can't buy himself a break.
So, outside of that, Sean, what did you think about the 14-fight card? Because, in all honesty, it was really one big Bellator event. Because you had Bellator 180 leading up to Bellator NYC. And it's funny because nobody's talking about that aspect of it. Like, do you not understand that there was actually 14 fights? Did you not get that you had 14 fights, you had ultimately two different fight cards, one leading into the other? I would kind of call Bellator 180 kind of like the prelims leading into the Bellator pay-per-view, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
And it was headlined by Ryan Bader and Phil Davis.
And it was classified as Bellator 180 and Bellator NYC, which is essentially two different fight cards. But the interesting thing, Tristan, about this is the fact that 14 fights, only 2 were altered. One was cut, and Gilbert Melendez's wife being pulled from the fight.
And Ryan Bader, King Mo.
And then essentially Bader getting his opportunity at Phil Davis for the title shot because King Mo couldn't make the fight. So to see that you put on that big of a fight card in NYC
14 fights and only 2.
And only 2. For crying out loud, you go across the bow and you look at what the other promotion's doing, and the other promotion is canceling another fight card. They consistently have fighters pull out. They've consistently have fighters injured.
When was the last time you heard Bellator cancel a fight card?
Never. Or at least I can't remember one. So you've got all this going on, and you're looking at the success, and I say that it is a success in my eyes. Regardless of what the pay-per-view buys are, the fact is they went out, put on a fight that didn't have people fall out. They had finishes. I think they had something like 10 finishes out of the 14.
Yep.
Like, my goodness. How many finishes can you expect? You don't even see that in the other promotion. But Bellator again, and Rich Chu and company over there put fight cards where the guys seemingly act as if they care for the fight and want to put a fight fans, except for what you saw with Ryan Bader and Phil Davis.
Dude, I'm still disappointed in that Ryan Bader Phil Davis fight because once again, they have met previously, okay? Yet it's the exact same fight. Like, if I wanted to see the exact same fight that I saw back in the UFC, I would have just gone on YouTube or on Fight Pass and watched the Phil Davis versus Ryan Bader fight all over again. Because it was exactly the same fight. You know, I was hoping that Phil Davis, Mr. Wonderful, would have changed his approach in the fight game, would have adapted himself. But, I mean, it didn't leave anything. That main event on UFC 180 on Spike TV, you would have thought Ryan Bader getting bumped from a co-main event to a title fight where he always believed that he was overlooked in getting title shots, that he would have performed better. Like, you wanted to impress the brass, and this is what you gave? I'm not excited about it.
The fact that Phil Davis went out and spoke so highly of himself, of how this fight was not going to be like the UFC fights, was that he was going to go out there and basically destroy Bader.
There was a little bit more feeling out process, I felt.
There was. It wasn't the way that it was structured to be. And you left a lot of people underwhelmed again. And I read somewhere where somebody's like, get used to it. These are who these two are. And then in the back of my head, I was thinking, Dennis Green. They are who we thought they were. Right? No matter how bad you are, and this is the thing that irritates a lot of fighters. A lot of fighters. The bottom line, and at the end of the day, it's a fight game. Good, bad, or indifferent. These guys are going to go out there and fight how they feel is going to get them the win. Boring or not boring. It's a strategic mental game of chess.
You know, we talked to Bobby Sanchez earlier this afternoon, and people should listen to Bobby Sanchez talk to us because he took the time and sat down with us, but I'm going to take something from what he said. And it's kind of what the guy says in our chat room right now, Nathan, is that in the USA, a lot of the fighters that fight here, you know, fight fans are so spoiled. Let's just be real here for a minute. Fight fans are so spoiled in the aspect that when you are inside of a cage, they want a stand-up and bang type of fight. They want something exciting. And if you don't give them something exciting, they immediately start booing, right? They don't like that. So that's ultimately what you got here, is that you get fans that are like, oh, well, this is technically a good fight. You know, you got to look past that in certain aspects. But if you're not downright trying, and it comes off like that, I'm with Nathan, man. Go back to the Pride days. Throw out a yellow card. Throw out a red card. I forgot what fight it was, but matter of fact, I think it was in the Ryan Bader versus Phil Davis.
Where there was
where the referee stepped in and said, hey, dude, don't leave this to the judges. Fight. I applaud that. Because you're going in. This is a championship fight. And you're not even fighting. That I have a problem with.
That's an issue in itself. And it's like, really? You've got to put on a fight or at some point touch gloves.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't go a minute and a half in a fight
without throwing anything.
And that's the only issue I had with the Bader and the Phil Davis fight, because it is exactly what I just said. This is who they are. This is the type of fighters they are. They're not showboaters. They're not over-the-top strikers. But what they are is fundamentally sound in their own style, in their own game. You either beat them at that game, or you go out there and you push the pace.
Like, in some kind of weird way, I kind of think that it's like a chess game.
It is.
You know, you got to move your pawn and stuff like that. Your pawn me crook. Something. That's ultimately what it comes down to, right? Is that regardless if you're good at what you do, like, everybody dogged King Mo Lawal for his performance against Czech Congo, remember?
Yeah.
But yeah, here's a guy that was outweighed by almost 50, 60 pounds, and he did exactly what he needed to do to get a win. Do you take it away from that? I don't know. But Phil Davis basically after this fight goes back to the drawing board because he loses his title to Ryan Bader. This will leave many people's questions, and to one of our guys that we spoke to is not happy about the alleged rumor.
It's not a rumor.
Well, yeah, not a rumor now, but at the time it was. Is that Ryan Bader will get King Mo Lawal for the 205 title.
And unfortunately, I see both sides of it.
Oh,
King Mo deserves his shot and his opportunity at the gold because each of the last two opportunities he's had a chance.
The rug's been pulled out from underneath him.
Whether it's been an injury, whether it was the 3 fights in one night, it's something that's been kind of taken away from him. So to give him this opportunity, it'll be interesting to see if he arrives at this fight healthy. But then you look at the thing is that after this fight, I thought, well, shoot, Phil Davis lost. Who's waiting in the wings at the light heavyweight? I was like, oh, okay. What's the next fight that you're going to see that makes sense? Linton Vassell versus Phil Davis.
Absolutely.
Well, why Phil Davis? Phil Davis lost. Well, Phil Davis is the former champ. By default, he gets an opportunity to redeem himself. Linton Vassell needs that one extra fight outside of Liam McGeary to get himself up in that upper echelon. Putting him up against a guy like Phil Davis with the pedigree and the name recognition gives him that opportunity. If he can withstand the ability to avoid the takedowns from Phil Davis, the sky's the limit for
Linton Vassell.
So Linton Vassell, I get why he was hurt by this announcement, but if I were you, I would
use
look
this
at
as
this
a fuel.
Absolutely. You know what? You want to put me against Phil Davis? That's cool. I will go back and I will beat Phil Davis, and then I will go to the top and take what's rightfully mine because that's the type of person that I think he is. And for this, dude, just feel it. Just let it fuel your fire. Get hungry. Get motivated to punch these guys in the face.
Right. But one thing so we got Ryan Bader versus King Mo. Essentially, that's going to happen unless an injury takes out King Mo again. But another thing is that why are we still talking about Tito Ortiz? Like, this guy is popping off at the mouth at the side of the cage.
He retired, right?
Right? Although I'm starting to think that he might pull a Floyd Mayweather and just say, you know what, I'm coming out of retirement. Because this dude does not stop talking. This guy is beyond like some other mind issue that he has because he was talking junk to Chael Sonnen, was talking junk to Ryan Bader, and Ryan Bader after the fight said that he wants Tito Ortiz. Chael Sonnen has now called out Tito Ortiz again. Last time he said, the last time I checked, he beat Tito Ortiz in the ring. But didn't Tito Ortiz just choke him out? if I remember. Yeah, allegedly.
Let's make that perfectly clear.
The blood flow must have been choked out real good because Chael Sonnen, he loves to just twist everything.
Considering that he said he won the fight?
Yes. But you had so many good fights. Matt Mitrione versus Fedor. I thought we almost saw the first ever double knockout in Bellator history.
You couldn't happen when that happened to go, oh!
Right? But Fedor was so slow at recovery. Matt Mitrione got it.
The difference between aging and still having some youth on your side despite being 38. The ability to still have quick reflexes to get back up and go, whoa, wait a second. And see red, basically. To be able to do that and change on a dime was great.
But now is the time that Bellator has to capitalize on Matt Mitrione. Because for multiple aspects, dude. Good on the mic. He's a heavyweight fighter. And their heavyweight title is still vacant. The post-interview about Tim Hague and his kid, incredible. If you don't, please go donate to the GoFundMe account for his son. Because Tim Hague died tragically after a boxing match. Chris McKenna said, is the fix in if Chael Sonnen and Tito go again? I think ultimately this will be a different fight. Because I thought that if Chael and Tito happen again, Sean, hear me out, is that when you first put this on paper, your immediate reaction, and mine too, was that I thought, hands down, you're going to give the win to Tito Ortiz, you're going to send him out and send him out the way that it should have been.
That's the way it looked.
Right. And that's the way, at least that's the way we saw that it looked. I think if you do it again, I think 3 years removed, he's coming back, just come off a victory against a guy that had virtually no defense. But I see this as a good ploy because Chael Sonnen needs somebody to fuel him again.
No. You just put me to sleep with that.
You don't want to see Chael Sonnen versus Tito Ortiz too?
If the first fight would have went differently, if the first fight didn't look as fixed as it did, maybe. But to even contemplate another one is ridiculous in my eyes.
Another one!
So, no, I don't want to see another one. There's no point in it. There's no value in it. But again, anybody that has been around Tito Ortiz, seen Tito Ortiz, walked by Tito Ortiz, knows that Tito Ortiz
rub you the wrong way.
Tito Ortiz chirping in the background, kind and expected. The fact is that I've walked by Tito Ortiz. I've seen Tito Ortiz in person. And he gives me the vibe that's meh. And quite frankly, I told his girlfriend that when we ran into him at San Diego, Bellator in San Diego, I hit up his girlfriend and was like, yo, I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you guys whatsoever because quite frankly, Tito Ortiz scares the bejesus out of me. And she's like, why? Trust me, he just scares the bejesus out of me. That's the type of persona he has. He's not the most warming guy.
Not the most approachable guy.
That he gives off. And so to see him chirping in the background, they're saying, you got clipped. Like, dude, you're retired.
Right? Or calling him profanity-laced tirades in the audience. Like, dude, come on. You're in the audience for a reason. Let the fighters fight. You don't need to be chirping in the background.
You're retired. Just stay quiet. Now, if you were saying that you were chirping and Randy Couture next to you,
I get it.
Then maybe you would be talking and going, "Hey, we got the next tent pole main event coming up.
How about Randy Couture versus Tito Ortiz headlining that one? Something like that would make sense, right? But no, this dude is just talk. And, that's pretty much what the social media outcry has been for Aaron Pico versus Zach Freeman, Sean. Aaron Pico destroyed in 24 seconds. Clipped with an uppercut, Sean. Now, does people have a right to kind of nag and poke fun at Aaron Pico?
Absolutely. When you come out and said that you're the big dog, that I was brought in to sell tickets, knock people out. Okay, Conor McGregor Jr., pump your brakes. I get that you're a phenom, world-class Olympic hero, yada, yada, yada. The sky's the limit for you, and you are a former boxer. You've got the pedigree that nobody can deny. I guess when you see Conor McGregor's success, you want to puff up your chest a little bit,
stick it out, and say you're the man,
and speak with your voice, speak with your chest. I get it. And Aaron Pico, he's got too much in his background to be one of those guys that lets this go by the wayside.
Oh, absolutely.
And Bobby Sanchez, and we talked about Aaron Pico in the interview that you guys can check out after the show. Is that he makes a bold prediction on Aaron Pico. I don't necessarily agree with it because he still got some time to learn.
What was the bold prediction that he said?
Let them hear what the bold prediction is.
You're going to want to hear the bold prediction. Bobby Sanchez on Aaron Pico. You don't want to miss that. Because it left us kind of dumbfounded, right?
Yeah, because I'm the king of bold predictions, but that even took me back.
You go way out on the limb. This one went completely on the limb and off the cliff.
But Aaron Pico, keep your head up.
But it's
because the thing that I did like is that, again,
he was pushing the fight.
Take a page out of the playbook of Conor McGregor. Humble in defeat.
Yes.
Humble in defeat. Long as he stays that way, fans will back off a little bit. They'll give him a little bit of respect. They'll give him a little bit of leeway. So as long as he does that, it'll be okay for Aaron Pico. Pico's got too much talent, too many people in his corner to figure this out. So that's on the up. The other thing, too, is, Heather Hardy, way to rise up in Brooklyn.
Right.
Heather Hardy got bloodied, was not afraid to fight.
Dude,
Alice Younger took her into deep waters for her first fight.
And a lot of people did not give Younger any credit whatsoever coming to this fight.
No, and not a lot of people knew what to expect from Heather Hardy. And then when Heather Hardy came in and did so well, and then we said, you know what? Third round, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to hit some lefts, some rights. I'm going to hit some combos. Boom, puts Alice Younger down on the ground, and then doesn't go after her. Get back up. I'll finish you on my feet. Like, this chick's not even in the fight game for more than 24 hours, and she's already... Come on, I know how good my boxing is.
Right, she knew her game plan, and she stuck to it.
I'm going to put you on notice. My hands are legit, and I'm going to show that, you know what, I'm not afraid to engage with fighters.
Right.
And dude, she put her down.
Right.
So, be on the lookout for the emergence, and I say the emergence of Heather Hardy because of the fact of what she showcased and the lack of fear she had.
Here's a bold prediction from me, is that Heather Hardy is going to be a better fighter than Holly Holm.
Dude, our guys at Fightbook are going to annihilate you for that one. Sorry, Roberto. Teresa went on a really bold limb there. I know you like your Holly Holm.
But, okay, so now let's talk about what transpired in the Chael Sonnen versus Wanderlei Silva fight.
And let's skip that.
A guy from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu had no takedowns, as bad as the New York Giants defense.
Okay, let's go heel promo there.
I'm just saying.
But let's skip that one. Because that to me, doesn't even need to talk about. The one that needs to be discussed is about the future of the middleweight division when you have Diego Lima, who came in against Lorenz Larkin with all this built-up hype, two of the best premier strikers, and I went out on our Facebook and said that, you know what, Lima is perhaps the best striker in perhaps all of MMA, if not the top elite guy in Bellator, and Lorenz Larkin and him look like basically is where can you go ahead and figure out where the filling out process was. Where were these two guys trying to go strategically? Because At some point, they were engaging. At some point, they were not.
I think when you look at Lima and Larkin, both of them have a lot of power. A lot of power. But what I liked about Lima this time is that he was able to strategically point box at a time when he actually needed to. When he needed to throw his jab and get some distance between Larkin, he was able to.
Well,
I like the fact that he used his angles well against Larkin, where Larkin was more a guy that wanted to kind of apply pressure and throw haymakers. So for Lima to come out there and put the performance that he did, I don't know whether or not it was necessarily a championship performance. I don't think it was necessarily a championship performance for Lorenz Larkin, especially for a guy that had to put his stamp on that division coming in from the UFC, but it felt like he was sleepwalking through that performance. And to go again, to be the first fight in a Bellator ring, and that's the kind of performance you have, no wonder why Rory MacDonald came out and said, the Canadian Psycho, the Red King, whatever you want to call him, is out here to make a graveyard of the middleweight division.
We were talking about this when it was mentioned that he's known as the Red King, but he's coming out and talking about putting people in the grave, talking about putting Lima in the grave, talking about Larkin putting him in the grave. Anybody in the middleweight division, he's talking about putting him in the grave, creating a grave of middleweights. The guy sounds like a psychopath. The guy sounds like he's gone off the deep end and has no idea how to get back. And quite frankly, if I arrive and I square off against Rory MacDonald, I'm terrified. Because I've never seen a guy that is a fighter that is as stoic as he is and looks like a serial killer. The guy is embracing what many people thought he was going to be in the UFC, but he was point boxing. He was trying to outpoint his opponent.
He wasn't trying to win. He wasn't trying to finish opponents. He was there simply to go to the judges and get the win.
And now you're seeing the Rory MacDonald that everybody had anticipated for years. And if this is truly the Rory MacDonald,
then everybody needs to watch out.
So when I see him come and see what happened was, I'm taking my tail, tucking it between my legs, and I'm running the other direction because this guy's as real as it's going to get. When he walks in and he submits Paul Daly, when he alters his game to avoid one of the best strikers in Paul Daly, and he takes you down and submits you just like that,
you have to now take him.
You have to now
take him seriously.
Take him absolutely with what he's saying. So, Lima, you want to take him in Canada?
I would not do that. I would not advise you to do that.
You want an angry, pissed off Rory MacDonald already that wants to put you 10 feet under?
And donning the Canadian colors?
Do not take him in Canada. Do not take him in Montreal, at the Bell Center, or anywhere else. Do not do it. Take him in Atlanta. Take him in Ireland. Take him whatever you want. Oh, speak about Ireland. I'm surprised Emmett Glynn is not in our chat room from last week because Gallagher, boy, that guy's pompous. But there's something weird that he's able to do stuff you didn't think he was going to do. He submitted Machida, who grew up in diapers doing karate.
He's 40 years old. His mind ain't even in fighting anymore.
No, you have it wrong. Machida, his brother, is who Gallagher fought.
Yes.
And he's not 40. He's a kid still. And so you look at it, and he submitted a Machida. They grew up fighting. This kid was so pompous and saying, I'm going to be the next champ. Like,
he still has to get through AJ McKee.
I now don't doubt it. I mean, I wish Emmett Glynn was in here because I'd say, like, dude, you guys from Ireland, you guys are slightly twisted. And you guys got slightly some cojones on you?
Because you can thank Conor McGregor for that.
I get it, but
You're from
jeez
Ireland.
Louise.
You're supposed to talk loud and you're supposed to be
Pump up your
brash.
chest.
That's apparently what you do in Ireland. Nobody knows anybody in Ireland, so talk loud and forget being humbled.
Well, I guess I guess you and I would fit in Ireland quite nicely.
Right?
Loud, out there,
In your face.
tell you how it is.
That's it.
You like us or you don't.
Right?
I guess we kind of embrace our the Ireland heritage a little bit somewhere down deep.
But, Sean, we are the Sports Warriors. We bring you the latest news. We bring you real talk with real opinions. And bring on the new critics. Bring on the new critics. We got no hard feelings. We are the Sports Warriors. I'm Tristan Ducross. This is my brother, Sean Ducross. We'll be right back.
You are watching the Ducross Brothers, the Sports Warriors, right here on YouTube. You can catch us every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can check us out at our website, www.thehotspotshow.com, or you can just follow us on Facebook at Ducross Brothers. You can find us also on Facebook at Sean and Tristan Ducross. So, stay up with us. Keep up. Real talk, real opinions, the only way combat sports should be done.
All right, everybody, we are back. I'm Tristan Ducross. On my side, as always, my brother, Sean Ducross. We are the Sports Warriors. Bring on the new critics. We got no hard feelings. We bring you real talk, real opinions. Sean, UFC Fight Night. Chiesa versus Lee went down, and it did not end without controversy.
We were still trying to figure that out.
We've been talking about it for 2 days. We've been literally glued to our recorder trying to figure out what exactly the ref saw, what the fans didn't see. We are literally trying to figure this out. Emmett Glenn said that he made it. Did you hear about the Gallagher talk? But Chiesa versus Lee, controversial finish. Was he out? Was he not? How did it look? I mean, Nathan said it. That's what we were thinking. He looked like he went limp for a second, and then all of a sudden, when he let go, is when all of a sudden he came to real quick.
That's the thing, is like, you're wondering how deep it was, how deep the choke was, because of the fact that as soon as the choke was released, he went and he's like, "Oh no, what did you do? Why did you stop the fight?" But the way I saw it was that when you look back at it and you're like, okay, I can kind of see why Yamazaki stopped the fight. And it's not Mazzagatti, let's be real. They don't look like each other. Golly, how do you butcher that one? But when you look at it and you look into the eyes of Chiesa and you look at the fact that he let go for a second and he like stiffened. I don't think he went limp, but as soon as he let go, he stiffened.
It looked like
when you stiffen like that, to me, I could understand, like, yo, okay, let's call it.
Right, because the way that I saw him, like you said, when we were playing it back, is that him to go limp, and I wouldn't say limp, like you said, kind of stiff. I kind of looked at it as if, think about when a boxer gets clipped, right, and gets knocked out, and he goes like almost like frozen status.
Yeah.
That's what I saw when that choke was in, that it like just kind of paralyzed him for a second.
Yeah, so like at the beginning, in the instant of the moment, I was like, oh, that's a horrible stoppage. But when you go back
frame by frame
and you slow it down, like Nathan said and like Emmett said in the chat room, it was a good stoppage, because referees have that instant. And they got to be able to make that call in a split second when they look into the individual's eyes and see what's happening when they're in a choke. And in this situation, when he was in that choke and his hands removed from Kevin Lee's arm and he stiffens up for that second, that's it.
We have quite a few referees that follow us. I'm curious if any of the referees are currently watching us right now.
James Pierce, Jason Herzog,
right?
Michael Beltran.
If any of you guys are watching our show right now, please jump into the chat room and let us know, that split second that you have to decide whether a guy is out or a guy is still alive, I want to know what your thought process goes in that split second. Because we've been at cage side. We've been in the front lines with a couple referees that we've seen that you have to make that split time decision. But never truly get inside the psyche of a referee when you're there and you're looking. You're leaning over essentially to a guy's eyes to see if he's there or if he's not. We don't know. You watch TV, you don't see the guy's eyes. You don't see what the stare is. You don't see if the pupils are dilated. You don't hear the gurgling. So that is where everything comes in. And it's funny because everybody jumps onto social media and bashes Yamasaki. I'm not going to say, dude, this guy has had a bad run.
And I don't think Yamasaki is one of the better refs. I, quite frankly, don't think he's one of the top guys in MMA when it comes to reffing. But he's also not one of the worst. We've seen worse.
Oh, absolutely. We've seen worse, far worse.
So in this situation, it's horrible to blame Yamasaki for what happened. You go be a ref for a fight and try to make the judgment call that some of these guys do. It is not the easiest thing in the world to do. There will be times when you and I are sitting cage side and we talk to our ref buddies live at the events. It's like, well, why did you do that? What were you looking at in that instance? And they're like, well, I wanted to give him an opportunity to see how deep the choke may get. Or if I see something stiffen or go limp a little bit, then I'm quick to pull the trigger a little bit more than the average Joe.
And the thing is, it happens a lot more in amateur MMA than it does in pro MMA. So I think you also have to add that to this, is that Yamasaki, dude, you're not in amateurs. So please let these guys actually fight through it, right? To a certain degree. But again,
he had to have seen something in that split second of a moment. So you have to be able to see and alter everything and see how you change and adapt. So you have to look too, is that you're talking about other issues and other things that happen. What about Johnny Hendricks? Johnny Hendricks came in at 188. Missed weight. Like, what? How do you miss weight again as a middleweight?
Dude, this guy is absolutely hilarious. I'm sorry, folks, but I'm just going to be very blunt and very real here for a minute. Is that this guy is hilarious. And I say that for a fact because we know one of the dietitians that were part of his whole entire rebuild, and I can't stop laughing because everybody said get a dietitian. He did. He failed. Move up in weight. He moved up 15 pounds. He still can't make it. Go fake your native heritage and find the spiritual path so you can get your mind right with your body. You failed that. If you come in 18 pounds over, you failed. Like, this is now borderline laughable for Johnny Big Rig Hendricks because he is literally a big rig now.
Big Rig, living up to the nickname Big Rig for a reason.
If Big Rig is almost at 205,
by the time he comes in, hey, lay off the Twinkies and the ho-hos.
Did anybody see the new photo of Big Country Roy Nelson? Just saying, anybody see that?
I pointed this out to our buddies at Fightbook. Dude, Roy Nelson looking quite
slim. If you guys have not seen the video of Roy Nelson says that now he can take pride in his fighting in Bellator, lay off a few Twinkies and ribs. Maybe Johnny Hendricks should take that to heart because Roy Nelson looks smaller than Johnny Hendricks. You are not a professional if you are consistently missing weight.
Okay, here's my rebuttal to this. How can Kevin Gastelum continuously miss weight,
right,
then move up in weight, miss weight, move back down, move back up, figure it out, and still compete? How come Johnny Hendricks can't figure it out? How come Gastelum figured it out? How come Rumble Johnson figured it out? Why can't Johnny Hendricks figure it out? If he's such a professional and he wants to make a fight game, wants to be a future champion, how come he can't make weight in 2 different weight classes and let alone missing it by so much?
There has to be
a limit.
Something mentally wrong with Johnny Hendricks. Because even if you're coming in 18 pounds hot, right? You watch him how he fights now. He looks gun shy. He looks very hesitant inside that cage.
It's what happens when you come in and you're forced to fight at, and I say forced to fight at middleweight, but even though you're not a middleweight, is that he's undersized at middleweight. So he's going to be a little bit more gun shy because these guys are bigger than he is. Look how big Tim Bosch looked compared to him.
Oh, most definitely. And the bigger guy was Johnny Hendricks. But Bosch
did what Bosch should have done in this. Like, yo,
dominated him.
You disrespected me.
I'm going to pummel you.
And that's what he did. Knocked him out in the second round. But Bosch is, for a better phrase that we use over and over again, he's that tweener. He's that gatekeeper. He's the guy that has the name recognition. He's the guy that's won the last 3 out of 4 fights. He's the guy that's in the middle of the middleweight division
that nobody talks about.
That can potentially fight for that title if he continues on the run that he is. But they're talking about throwing him in against a guy like a David Branch. You crazy?
If David Branch puts work in and becomes the David Branch of old where he was in WSOF running through people.
You cray-cray?
Dude, Tim Bosch won't last a round against David Branch.
So my rebuttal to that is like, okay, how about, no disrespect to Sam Alvey, but why not put him against a Sam Alvey? He's a ranked fighter in the UFC.
He has put on good shows.
He's a stand-up and bang type of guy. It'd be an interesting fight. If you want to throw somebody else out there, what about a Uriah Hall? What about Elias Thibodeau? You've got guys you can throw out there
to Tim Bosch to see if he can keep this going. Absolutely, I agree with that.
So it'll be interesting to see where they go with Tim Bosch and what they seem to do with him and Big Rig. You've got to figure out what you're doing with Johnny Hendricks.
I think he needs to retire. Mentally broken right now.
Or what do you say? Let's move him up to weight again. And where he's really undersized.
Right, a real bad undersized guy. But Sean, a lot of people are talking about Poopgate. But I'm not going to touch that. I want to talk about something that's very heartfelt in Felice Herrig.
Okay. I was debating about this all day. I debated about it yesterday when I heard about it because now I have a daughter. And I was torn about how I wanted to approach this. Because I can approach it from one of 2 different ways. I can approach it from the aspect of Boy Meets World, in which there was a moment when Corey was outside talking to his brother, and his brother said, "Put on a helmet." And his brother puts on a helmet and slaps him upside the head. He said, "Life's tough, get a helmet." And that analogy has been with me for the longest time because that was when television was good. And that it had family values and aspects to it that let you embrace life and know that life isn't going to be all peaches. It just isn't. And then I go back and I listen to the quote from Rocky and the fact that life is tough. Life's going to knock you down and
bring you to your knees
if you let it. And we felt life. We have felt life over and over again. Does it hurt? Yeah. Life's unforgiving. Life will never be something that you want it to be. Life isn't exactly sunshine and rainbows. Life is something that is unpredictable. And you can't control life. It's uncontrollable. So for her to sit there and say that I'm not young enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I get that. But at the same time, for you to think that way, that is almost what's wrong with society. Because of the fact that you got to think you're beautiful. You got to think you're great. And you best believe, that's one thing I'm going to put into my daughter. You're going to always believe you're beautiful. You're always going to believe that you're great, no matter what you do. I don't want to ever hear you doubt yourself, doubt your ability. And to me, that's what she sounded like she did. She doubted her ability. She doubted how beautiful she was.
And it's quickly to put the blame game onto somebody else.
And so when I was taken back by this, it was like, yo, my immediate reaction is, get a helmet. Life's tough. You're not going to like the outcome of it.
What were we always told, Sean? Get a thick skin. In this radio field, get a thick skin, because you will have your haters. You will have the people that love you. That's why my new saying this week has been, bring on the new critics. I got no hard feelings. It is really as simple as that. So please hearing, you had one bad fight in the UFC. Has it dictated the way that your course of your path has gone? Sure, you lost. It does. To say that you have put on a good win streak? Cool. Talk about your win streak. What has gotten you this far? You're the one that has brought the mad pub on you for your Instagram photos. For your selfies. You're the one that was in the tough house that caused issues. You were the one. So let's pump the brakes on saying that, well, I'm not young, I'm not beautiful, I'm not Paige Van Zandt. Ain't nobody Paige Van Zandt. But I don't hear Kat Zingano saying it.
You don't hear anybody else.
I don't hear Michelle Old saying it. You know, I don't hear it from all these other girls. And let me tell you, some of these girls are downright beautiful, and you don't hear them talk about, well, I ain't beautiful enough. I ain't young enough. They ain't talking about it. Go out there, be you, do you, and stop worrying about what everybody else thinks of you in this society. That's what's wrong.
If you trust your ability,
that's the only thing that should matter.
Then trust it.
Right?
That'll get you to where you need to be. Cut back on this selfie. Cut back on this half-naked photos on Instagram. Cut back on all that nonsense. That's why we haven't seen Angela Nogueira outside of the fact that she got punched by Cyborg.
That's her only claim to fame right now.
So, pump your brakes. Realize life is hard. I know it was hard for people to hear it. But also, this is what's wrong with some women today. And we saw it on...
Dude, body shaming has become a new fad.
We saw it...
It's ridiculous,
We saw
folks.
it on, what is it? World of Dance. Yes, we watched dance. Because my wife was a former dance when she was a little girl. So we watched dance shows all the time.
Yes, we do. Even though I can't really dance. So if anybody wants to teach me how to dance, I'm open.
There was a women group of teens.
Yes.
And they came out wearing shirts saying ugly, fat, whatever it may be, because they embraced it. They let people know, just because you're called ugly, fat,
a loser,
whatever it may be, you have the ability to dictate that and change the culture.
Yes.
So rather than complaining about what it is or isn't, man up or woman up and give a good example to the young women out there and realize Tyra Banks is a prime example of it. She's not one of the thinnest women out there in modeling. She's a little bit on the heavier side. She doesn't care. She is beautiful in her own skin, feels she's sexy in her own skin. She doesn't care. Women have something to look up to her in her. Be that person. Okay, yeah, you know what? You don't think you're beautiful. You don't think you're good enough. Be good enough. Be beautiful. That's all I got to say about that.
Absolutely. Preach. We are the New Cross Brothers Sports Warriors. We're going to take a quick break. Round out the show with some LFA 15. Odoms versus Vandera. It's going down. Real talk, real opinions. The Sports Warriors, fearless. Bring on the new critics. Got no hard feelings. We'll be right back.
You are watching the Cross Brothers, the Sports Warriors, right here on Standard Time. You can check us out at our website, www.thehotspotshow.com, or you can just follow us on Facebook at Ducross Brothers. You can find us also on Facebook at Sean and Tristan Ducross. So, stay up with us. Keep up. Real talk, real opinions, the only way combat sports should be done.
Before you announce this back, I just want to say thank you, Nathan. I just had to touch on it because to me it was something that now is very close to me.
Absolutely. So if you want, send this over to Felice Herrick. Let her listen to what we had to say.
I don't mean any disrespect to Felice. I really
absolutely.
don't. But I just want her to understand what the outside perspective is for people that see her and just want to wish her the best.
What did Bobby say about us? Well, first off, we are the Sports Warriors. We are Sean and Tristan Ducross. Bobby Sanchez said, made a post about us saying that we have real questions, we have real opinions, and like we did to him, dude. There's no script, there's no dialogue to this. This is exactly 100% real talk, real opinions, real facts. That's the way that we do this. So you like us, you don't, whatever. Everybody has their own opinions. You're allowed to.
That's what makes life interesting and unique, is because without controversy, without being able to do that,
this world would not evolve.
You don't have life.
Right. It would not work that way. That's why you have news. That's why you have news media. That's why you have politics. Everything plays a factor in this world, whether you like it or you don't. Everybody's going to have an opinion on it. And how do you change the perspective of it? That's the way you do it.
And everybody's going to have an opinion on the fact that Manny Pacquiao is going to be fighting Jeff Horn Saturday in Australia on ESPN on free TV.
Thank you, Top Rank.
We are talking about Manny Pacquiao, one of the kings and legends of boxing, fighting on free TV. If you have not watched boxing,
July 1st,
you're going to want to see this because it's going to be interesting. We've seen you. If Jeff Horn goes out there and beats Manny Pacquiao,
shoot,
he can add to legend killer status because he beat Bernard Hopkins. Now he has a shot at beating another icon in Manny Pacquiao. If you're Manny Pacquiao, you're going into this fight the same way you've been going in. A new strategic style, laid back, and I'll get aggressive when I need to get aggressive. But you're going to come to me.
You're going to see a different fighter, Manny Pacquiao, on live TV, I think.
Well, you've already seen a different Manny Pacquiao in the last couple fights.
Yeah, but I'm talking about his style is going to change again come free TV. Because you have to make it exciting. So I think we're going to see an aggressive guy. So he's going to come out there to make a statement.
So you think he's going to resort back to the aggressive nature of his old style?
Oh, absolutely.
If that's the case, it feeds right into Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn has the power that Marquez had when he put out Manny Pacquiao. He's just a poor man's version of Marquez, and didn't fight Manny Pacquiao 3 times.
But I like this card, actually, on ESPN, because Top Rank signed a deal with ESPN. We already know PBC's on CBS and all that good stuff.
All that gushy stuff.
Top Rank Boxing now is in the fold with ESPN. They will put on a 4-fight card, and Sugar Shane Mosley Jr. is on this card.
God, he looks like his dad.
So again, now Top Rank is doing what PBC did. Let's get a big star player, free TV on ESPN. It's going to hit more people than Showtime Boxing and HBO Boxing. It's going to hit a lot more people. So I think this is good in its own right for Top Rank Boxing. For boxing alone, this is great news for them. If you ask Adrian Bonner, he's going to say, no, it's not. Pay-per-view's where it's at, so Manny Pacquiao, sign the dotted line, I'll take you back to pay-per-view.
But the problem that I have with this is that, Nathan in the chat room, you just mentioned it now, is that Jeff Horn, Manny Pacquiao, on pay-per-view, doesn't sell this fight. It's in Australia, doesn't sell the fight. So, to put it on free TV...
Smart.
It's smart business because it's going to draw people because of Manny Pacquiao, not because of Jeff Horn.
Right.
But the thing, too, is that this could make Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn is 16-0 with 11 knockouts.
Imagine you.
He could make history.
a legend of the status and a Hall of Fame of the sport of Manny Pacquiao on free TV.
Right? You want to get your status known and people recognize your name, Jeff Horn? This is one way to do it. Jeff Horn says he's going to put an end to Manny Pacquiao. That's a big talk, considering that Horn is considered as a big welterweight, right behind Spence at 5'9", and Manny Pacquiao is a little guy. So it's going to be interesting because this is a big step up in competition.
Big step up
for Horn. He has not fought anybody the level of Manny Pacquiao.
Dude, you want to talk about a big step up? How about LFA 15? Legacy Fighting Alliance will crown their first ever heavyweight champion. And our boy, our friend, is fighting. Jared Vandera is taking on Richard the Black Eagle Odoms.
42 versus 25 years old.
Right, but you're talking about one of the biggest, baddest heavyweights in the fight game. 6'5", 265 pounds. Mean dude in Odoms, who dismantled William Huffman in the second round via TKO.
And he's won the last 3 fights via knockouts. But the thing about Vandera, we've seen him in epic fighting.
Watch him grow.
We've seen him fight in he's fought in Smash Global. Where I believe he's got when he turned pro and he fought for Smash Global and won those fights via knockouts. I think that's what elevated his career, got him noticed. The thing about him is that I remember when he was a puffy guy. And he was a puffy heavyweight. Now you look at him, he's a slimmed down heavyweight. He looked early on in his career as an amateur as the width of him kind of like a Roy Nelson.
Yeah.
And now he's kind of slimmed down, put it all together. He's now 5-0 as a pro. He's got 3 knockouts, 2 submissions, all finishing within the first round.
And now ultimately goes from once a relative unknown to a top flight undefeated prospect that you might ultimately have to consider that he could win the first ever LFA 15, winning that first ever heavyweight championship.
And going 6-0, it's very possible considering that he's one-off finishes. And now he's fighting a guy that is basically twice his year.
And this will fully show that he is ready for the big show, for the big lights, when he steps inside the LFA cage. Because all lights will be shining on him. All lights.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting LFA 15 to see what's going to happen with Vandera. To see if he can pull off his first title win. Also, Manny Pacquiao will never be fighting on a pay-per-view again. And with that being said, we are out.
We are the DeGrasse Brothers Sports Warriors. We do this every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will be back next time. Also, be sure to catch our interview with Bobby the Kid Sanchez. We will put it up right after the show. You guys don't want to miss that. Bobby Sanchez, the Kid with the Sports Warriors. After the show, on our page, you can like us on the Ducross Brothers. You can Facebook friend us, Sean and Tristan Ducross.
Don't be afraid. We don't bite.
Right? We don't bite.
We just like talking combat.
And go to our website at www.ducrossbrothers.com. Till next time, we're out. Thanking everybody in the chat room and supporting us as we continue to grow. Mad respect to everybody. Thank you.